The mountains were quiet that night, too quiet for Sergeant Luke Harmon, stationed on patrol near a decommissioned base deep in the Wyoming wilds.
Did you hear that?
He had grown used to silence, but this silence was wrong. The wind had stopped. Even the crickets had fled. Then his K-9, Juno, perked her ears and let out a soft growl. Luke stepped forward, rifle ready. That's when it came. A girl's voice, barely a whisper, drifting from the trees. "I'm sorry, Dad." His blood turned to ice. They were miles from any town. That voice wasn't supposed to be there, but it was. Keep watching. What they found in the woods at night would uncover a truth buried for over a decade and break even the strongest hearts. Sergeant Luke Harmon wasn't a man easily rattled. 2 tours in Kandahar, a fractured femur from a roadside blast, and years of silence under desert skies had hardened him. But something about this cold stretch of American forest, this forgotten military land near the Wind River Range, made the hairs on the back of his neck stand. He wasn't alone. Juno, his German Shepherd K-9 partner, moved stiffly tonight, as if every leaf under her paw might explode. She sniffed the wind and crouched low. Luke scanned the trees with night vision goggles. Nothing, until the voice came. It was soft, female, young. "I'm sorry, Dad." Luke froze. The voice had a broken edge, like it came through tears or time. Juno bolted. "Juno, wait." She didn't stop. She darted into brush ahead, weaving through pine trunks like she found a scent Luke couldn't detect. He followed, rifle tight against his chest. Every branch crackled beneath his boots. The darkness swallowed him. The voice repeated, closer this time. "I didn't mean to." Juno stopped suddenly in a clearing. She was staring at a tree, an old pine, and beneath it, something small and pink, a child's jacket. Luke's breath caught. He stepped forward carefully, sweeping the area. No tracks, no blood, just that one tiny jacket, faded and half covered by pine needles, like it had been here for years. He knelt. The tag was still visible. Property of Ellie B. Harmon. His heart dropped. Ellie, his daughter. But Ellie had died 10 years ago, drowned in a river, or so he believed. It was hard to feel cold shock when you stood through blizzards and enemy fire, but Luke was shaking. He didn't tell anyone about the jacket. Not yet. He told command that Juno had picked up something that led to an old civilian drop. That bought him time. He needed to go through this on his own. Needed to understand why a jacket that had belonged to a girl buried 10 years ago was now sitting under a tree in a remote corner of the Rockies. Back at base, he pulled out the old case file. Ellie's case. She'd vanished one spring afternoon. Age 8. Last seen by a neighbor walking home from piano lessons. They found her backpack near the river. Then a shoe. A week later, they found her. At least, they thought they did. A body recovered downstream. Unrecognizable, but small. The coroner declared it her. Closed casket. DNA inconclusive, but assumed. The file was thin. Too thin. Luke had believed the story. Needed to. His marriage had collapsed within months. His deployment became permanent. And for 10 years, he wore grief like body armor. Until now. Until that voice. And that jacket. He scanned through the photos in the file again. Something didn't sit right. The shoe they'd found wasn't Ellie's size. That night, he went back to the tree. Juno followed, quiet as a ghost. He circled the clearing. 20 yards north, he found something else. A rusted metal hatch, half buried in the moss. Like a storm drain, or something older. He pried it open. A cold gust hit his face. Juno whined. There were steps. Going down. And faintly, too faintly, there was again. "I'm sorry, Dad." He descended. What he found beneath the forest floor would shake the last pieces of his reality apart. But he wasn't turning back. Not this time. The staircase beneath the hatch was narrow, rusted, and ancient, built into the earth like a secret nobody ever wanted to remember. The deeper Luke and Juno descended, the colder it became. His flashlight beam scanned concrete walls covered in mildew and old military stenciling. Numbers, arrows, codes. This had been part of the original Cold War facility. He remembered it now from ancient training maps, a long-defunct communications bunker, decommissioned before he was even born. But this room wasn't on any blueprint he'd ever seen. At the bottom, a steel door stood slightly ajar. Juno sniffed, pawed once, then waited. Luke pushed it open. Inside, the room was silent. Sterile, dusty but untouched. A single bed, child-size, a chair, a broken doll, and on the far wall, in a child's handwriting, scratched with something sharp. "I'm sorry, Dad. I tried to be good." Luke felt like the floor had vanished under him. The room was soundproofed, insulated, meant to keep someone in, or keep the world out. He stepped further in. There were drawings on walls, stick figures. A tall man with a gun, a little girl in pink, a dog. Juno walked over to a metal shelf and nosed aside a piece of cloth. Beneath it, there was a photo of Ellie, taken years after she was supposed to be dead. She was older, maybe 10, alive, trapped. The date scrawled on the back, June 2017. For years after her funeral. Luke staggered back. This wasn't a ghost. This wasn't a haunting. This was real. His daughter had been alive, and someone had kept her here. The next few days were a blur. Luke requested leave, citing personal trauma resurfacing. They gave it to him. Who would deny a soldier mourning his daughter? He needed time to dig. He drove to the town where Ellie had vanished. 10 years hadn't changed much. The same gas station, the same school, the same piano studio, and one person who still remembered, Mrs. Clark, Ellie's old piano teacher. "I always wondered," she said over tea. "That last day, she said someone new was picking her up, a family friend, but I thought you'd send him." "I didn't." Mrs. Clark paled. "She was nervous that day," she whispered. "Looked back at me before getting into the car, like she wanted me to say something. But I didn't." Luke left with a shaking heart. Back in his truck, he called in a favor to an old friend, FBI agent Harper Clay, now retired. They met the next day. Luke handed over the photo, the location of the bunker, and what little remained of the evidence. Clay looked grim. "This wasn't random," he said. "This was methodical. Someone with access. Someone close." Luke's hands curled into fists. He thought of one name, his brother, David. David Harmon always greeted his brother with a measured calm, the kind that made him excellent at poker and even better at deception. His cabin, nestled in a deep pine hollow an hour north of Casper, Wyoming, was built like a man who had something to hide, solid, remote, and just out of reach of cell towers. When Luke pulled up the gravel drive, Juno sitting alert in the passenger seat, the sun had just dipped behind the ridgeline, turning the sky the color of old bruises. David opened the front door before Luke could knock. "Luke," he said, as if surprised but not alarmed. "Didn't expect to see you." "I bet." Luke stepped forward. Juno didn't wait for permission. She jumped out of the truck and began pacing the edge of the porch, nose twitching. "Mind if I come in?" Luke asked. David hesitated, just a flicker of a moment, but it was enough. Of course. The interior of the cabin was Spartan but meticulous. A fire smoldered in the stone hearth, and a half-played game of chess sat frozen on a wooden table. A rifle rested on a rack above the mantel. Luke's eyes clocked every angle, every weapon, every door. Years of training hummed in his blood. But it wasn't war instincts driving him now, it was fatherhood. He pulled the photograph from his jacket. "I need you to look at this." David took it with steady hands. His eyes flicked down, then up. His face didn't change, too practiced. Luke watched him carefully. "Do you recognize her?" David looked again, then slowly handed it back. "It's Ellie. She's older than when we buried her." David said nothing. Photograph was found in a Cold War-era bunker half a mile from an old comm station. A child's room, untouched. Drawings. A bed. She was held there. David's jaw shifted. Luke's voice dropped low. It was a government bunker. One that hadn't seen light since the Reagan era. But someone turned it into a prison. And someone had keys. David looked out the window, toward the tree line. Then he said, almost too quietly, "You weren't supposed to find that place." Luke's body stiffened. There it was. No denial. No excuse. Just resignation. "You did this." Luke said, "No." David said quickly, "No, I didn't take her. I didn't plan it. But I knew." Luke's fists clenched. "Start talking." It took hours. And David didn't say everything. But what he did reveal was enough to shatter whatever illusions Luke had left. It began with a mission. Classified. Somewhere near the Bering Strait. David had intercepted intelligence tied to a private military research group. Experiments in behavioral modification. Psychological containment. Even memory suppression. All off books. Blacker than black. They were testing on kids, David said, barely audible. Orphans. Runaways. The ones no one would miss. Luke's mouth went dry. David had learned a facility, hidden beneath the Wind River Basin. A prototype site, never officially acknowledged. He wanted to shut it down, but instead, he got involved. There were protocols, David said. They were teaching them obedience, loyalty, making them forget where they came from. I thought maybe it was mercy. Luke stepped forward. "And Ellie?" David hesitated. "She wasn't supposed to be there," he said. "I swear to God. Someone messed up. Or maybe it wasn't a mistake." He explained that after Ellie's disappearance, he discovered she was inside the Wind River facility, alive. The program director, known only as Mira, had flagged her as high resilience, low memory fracture. She wasn't breaking. David tried to intervene, pulled strings, threatened exposure. But Mira gave him a choice, walk away or take custody. "And I took her," he whispered. "Not like that. I didn't hurt her. I brought her here. She didn't even remember her name at first." Luke's hands trembled. "You kept her. For years. She was happy. Eventually, she called me uncle. She loved the dog I gave her. She played music again. But she kept drawing you. Over and over. Even when she didn't know who you were." Luke stared at him, disgust rising like bile. "You stole my daughter's entire life. And now she's gone again." David's face cracked. For the first time, the emotion showed. She ran away 2 years ago. One night, she just vanished. I searched everywhere, burned everything. I didn't tell anyone. He paused. "But sometimes I still hear her voice, out in the woods, calling for you." Luke didn't sleep that night. He stayed in the truck. Juno curled at his feet, eyes never closing. He was torn between rage and grief, between storming the remnants of facility and hunting the woods until dawn. The next morning, he entered David's basement. It wasn't locked. It should have been. Behind a shelf of books, there was a hidden panel, a child's room, just like the one underground. Only this one was lived in. Photos of Ellie as a young girl, watercolor paintings, stacks of cassette tapes labeled lessons, a small pink violin, and a box. Inside, hair ties, bits of jewelry, a bracelet etched with her name, and journals. Ellie's handwriting. He sat on the floor and read them for hours. The entries began as simple things. "Today I learned a new word, remembrance. Uncle says I used to be sad, but I'm not anymore. Sometimes I dream about water. I don't like water." Then they turned darker. "I found a picture of a man. He has my eyes. Uncle got mad when I asked about him. I asked where my mom is. Uncle said she was weak. I cried. He made me sleep in the dark. I remember a song. I think my real dad used to hum it. I don't think I'm supposed to remember." And then, "I heard someone calling my name today. Outside, a dog barked. I almost opened the door. I left something for him. If he's really out there, I left the pink jacket. He'll know." Luke's heart stopped. She left the jacket for him to find. She'd known he was coming. Juno began pacing. She moved to the edge of the room, pawed at a floorboard. Luke pried it up. Underneath, a notebook, wrapped in plastic. Water damaged. The final entries were desperate, erratic. "He says we'll have to move again. He says people are looking. I don't want to go. I remember my name now. It's Ellie. My dad's name is Luke. He's a soldier. He has a dog. Dad, if you're reading this, I tried. I waited. I'm sorry. I love you. And beneath that, one more line. North, past the ridge, where the stars bend low. Luke left that night. No word to David. No backup. Just coordinates, a compass, and a promise. He followed the line she wrote. Past the ridge, into the high country, where the trees grew sparse and the rocks whispered in the wind. Juno led the way. They found a campfire ring long gone cold, a tarp strung between branches, bits of torn cloth, a mirror hanging from a branch, with something carved into bark beside it. I see you, Dad. She had been here, watching, waiting, and just maybe she still was. Luke turned in a slow circle. Ellie, he whispered. No answer, but the wind stirred, and for the briefest second, Juno's ears perked. A voice, soft as mist. I'm not sorry anymore. They never found Ellie. Not fully. The bunker, the journals, the photo, those were real. David was arrested, but he never revealed more. He died awaiting trial. Luke searches still, every year, following whispers and sightings. Some say they've seen a girl in Colorado, others in Idaho. But always, it's the voice that haunts him, echoing in his sleep. I'm sorry, Dad. Not because she did something wrong, but because someone else did. And the worst part of all is that she still might be out there, hiding, waiting, wondering if it's safe to come home.